Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Metro 2033 Redux Good Ending walkthrough, and this is mission 25, also known as D6. We have finally reached the missile bunker. And in here we are gonna activate this place, bring on the power so we can fire. That moment when you don't know if you're supposed to say launch or fire the missiles towards the botanic garden and eliminate the threat of the dark ones once and for all. But this place is quite calm throughout the first half of this episode, so it gives me time, once again, to talk about a few other things as I run around exploring these trains. I just ran around here to see if I could find any ammunition or filters or whatever. It's good to try and find filters because the entire last level will be outside on the surface. But as soon as we bring back the power, we also start the ventilation system so you can take off your mask. But before we get any further, I need to do a little correction. Actually, in the last episode I uploaded, I talked about Metro Exodus and how I thought that it would come out in November or October of this year. I realized soon after, while I was waiting for the episode to go up to YouTube, I decided to Google it because I wanted to find out which date it will be released. And it turns out I was off for about 3 months. Apparently it is set to be released on February 22nd of 2019, next year. So that sucks, because that is one of those games I'm really looking forward to. I talked about that a lot in the last episode. And I've been looking a bit at gameplay from different games now, earlier today and the last few days, and I'm really looking forward to. I think I talked about it, but it's worth mentioning again. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, the coming game from Software. I looked at a 10-minute gameplay video, and that game looks really awesome. It's like a speeded up version of Bloodborne with jumping and grappling hooks. I think I've drawn a parallel between that game and Tenshu Stealth Assassins, old stealth game that came out initially on PlayStation 1. And I think From Software was involved in at least one of its sequels. Quick note here, these are 4 fuse boxes that you need to activate to turn on the ventilation and bring back power to D6. I don't know if the order in which you should activate these is randomized. I think it is. But it's really easy because Miller will tell you which one you should activate next. And also a lamp will light up. So you cannot fail this. But going back to Sekiro, since we do have some time before any action comes in here. I looked at 10-minute gameplay, and you can see that it's a From Software game. There are similarities to Dark Souls and Bloodborne. They seem to have dropped the stamina bar, so stamina will not be a factor anymore that you have to weigh in. Instead, you will have to focus on something called posture. And as I understand it, if you take too many hits, or if your block timing is off, your posture meter will rise and you will lose your stance and expose yourself to damage. And I don't know if that's an insta-kill or if it will just take off a huge chunk of your life.
Yeah, cool. Just like in old Hollywood movies about
Knowing From Software, it wouldn't surprise me if it is an insta-kill, actually.
Artyom, let's move out.
But I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it will be released in March. If I can't remember if I looked it up earlier or if it's another game that's released in March. I've been watching through some gameplay for different games. I actually took a little look at a short gameplay video of Fallout 76, the new Fallout game that's coming out. And I must say, I haven't pre-ordered it. I was quite disappointed with Fallout 4. And I'm not really sure why. There are some factors that I know made me a bit disappointed. I didn't like the fact that you had to choose a faction to align yourself with. Either the Institute or the Brotherhood of Steel, Railroad or whatever. Because when I play a game like Fallout or the Elder Scrolls or whatever, I want the ability to choose. I want to be able to do all the missions there are. Because I think Bethesda are great at doing fun missions. And doing intricate and interesting worlds. The only problem I have with Bethesda when it comes to video game, or the biggest problem I have with it, is the NPCs. Because you know, the scripting of the conversations is usually terrible. And the only thing that's worse is the voice acting. This game is not super great at voice acting either, but anyone who has played Skyrim or Fallout 3 or 4 know that it's really bad. And they usually hire like 3 voice actors. But that is not super important because they are really fun. The missions are really fun. But in Fallout 4 I didn't feel that it worked as well as it should. Fallout 3 was a great game. I really liked the world. I thought the story was alright. Not the best story, but it made sense. Your dad disappears, he goes out, you don't know why, so you leave your vault and go searching for him. It makes sense. In Fallout 4, you are a dad or a mother, if you choose to play as a female, searching, doesn't matter which one. But you're out searching for your kid. Your only child that you have seen getting kidnapped by a person that shoots your significant other in the process. You have seen all this. So I don't have children myself, but I assume that finding your kid would be the only thing on your mind. But no, instead you're gonna do a lot of tasks for the Minutemen or whatever. You're gonna search through the entire wasteland, picking up aluminum cans so you can build a little house and a little settlement. Because that's what you do. But that's not the biggest problem I have with it. It was just the fact that it felt limited in a way. And here we have a new enemy type called... I actually have no fucking idea what they're called. I call them orbs. They sit in cocoon-like things on the wall. If you shoot the cocoon, it looks almost like a Venus flytrap. No, it doesn't. But that's the best comparison I can come up with right now. If you shoot that, it will open and the orb will not come out. But even if the orbs come out, they don't pose a threat because they are slow, and if they get close to you they explode, but their blast radius is really small. And also you have Miller with you, and Miller has the most brutal weapon in this entire game. I have no idea what kind of rifle it is, but it shoots like electric jolts. And as I've shown you throughout this guide, your AI companions in this game can actually be really good. Here you see those Venus flytrap thingies. They do illuminate when you get a little bit closer to them, so you can just stand over here and take pot shots. And if you shoot them, the orbs won't come out, so that will make it even easier. But when they come out, if you end up in a situation where they do come out, because Miller is really bad at shooting the cocoons before they open. But he's really good at killing the orbs after they open. So all you need to do, see that weapon? It's a beast. So all you really need to do is do the same tactic as we have done throughout this walkthrough when we have a companion with us. Either we stay really far in front of them, like we did with Bourbon, or in this case, and many other cases when you have AI companions, stay far behind them. But going back to Fallout, actually, because this is a really easy part. I looked at a very short video of gameplay for Fallout 76. And it didn't really say much about the game. From the little gameplay I saw, it seemed like just deathmatch. And I'm really skeptical about an online-based Fallout game. Because Fallout has always taken place in a wasteland. Whenever you run into someone, it's supposed to be this very, can't think of the word, very abandoned place, empty place, where running into people is something that happens really seldomly.
I hope it still works.
And I've loaded in my military grade rounds because there's no need to keep them around any longer. Uninhabited place was the word I was looking for. But if you create a game like Fallout 76 seems to be, where people will play online, they will play with each other or against each other, I'm afraid it will feel cramped, and that will kill, in my opinion, what Fallout is. Because it is about exploring, it's about feeling alone. You against a big hostile wasteland. And I don't want to run around in a big hostile wasteland with a big group of friends that got my back, because that takes away the sense of threat. Because that's what I really liked in Fallout 3. I think the weapon wear down and the armor wear down was a bit of a double-edged sword. I've never been a big fan of games where you have to repair your armor. But it wasn't such a big thing, so don't think it destroyed the game in any way. But there was always that sense of threat. And I really like that. And I really love the fact when you got your hands on some power armor, you could start going out into the wasteland and kicking some serious ass. Because we all love power armors, and that is something they really slaughtered in Fallout 4. Actually, I wasn't too pleased at all with this, with the power core thing. At least I could I put in a thing where you could like recharge them or something. Because I I found a bunch of power armors. I think I had like 8 or 9 of them. And I used them as my own overpowered version of garden gnomes. I built a giant house up in Sanctuary, and on the second floor I took out the wall. So I had one floor floating in mid-air while I put platforms on the outside of the building. And put the walls back, and I actually put my power armors out on those platforms and lit them up with little lamps. Had really fun doing it, which turned my house into some weird steampunk version of a gothic church with huge super advanced gargoyles. And I thought that was the best use for them, because the power cores drain so fast when you use them, so just felt like, what's the point? But we are getting close to actually a new game mechanic. Once again, as I mentioned before, there is a great diversity in gameplay in this game. And this is, I wouldn't say a boss fight, but it feels a little bit like it. You see a giant life form outside a window. And we need to pull out fuses that it has merged around or whatever. So we are gonna jump up in a crane and start pulling them out. Conveniently placed crane in case of mutant infestation. As soon as Miller stops swearing and gets his ass to work. And this is really easy if you're fast. Because that mutant is not impressed at all, or that big biomass is not impressed at all with us trying to pull out the fuses. He doesn't like that one bit. So what you want to do when you get up in this crane, as soon as you get the controls, or you can start moving it. I like to, as soon as you go into this little cutscene where Artyom starts powering it up, I like to move the analog stick in straight up, going for the first fuse. You use the left analog stick to move the crane, and when you want to get it down to grab one of the fuses, you hold down R2. And when the voice says contact zone reached, you just hold down R2 and it will grasp on to the fuse. And it will start moving out the fuse. And I always hold the analog stick in the direction for the next fuse. Because as soon as the crane starts moving, release R2 or L2. It's R2 to lower it. Because that will keep the crane in the lowest position possible for it to being able to grasp the fuses, which will make the process go faster with fuse 2 and 3. And you're not in any really big threat that biomass will start throwing snot balls at you. It's the best word I can find for it. If you take too long, it will kill you. It will break the hut and assume Artyom falls down and dies or something. But what was I saying? Yes, one another thing you should know: when you have the crane in the lowest position, if I can stop fighting the ladder here, it does sway a little. So when you see you going into the next contact zone, I like to just ease on the speed a little bit so it doesn't go into a pendulum motion and swing out of position, because it can be a little bit finicky to get it to grab the fuse then. But it was easy, wasn't it? And I think it's a fun thing. Doesn't feel super necessary. I think they just wanted to try out yet another game mechanic, and but it doesn't outstay its welcome. It only takes like, what took that? 40 seconds? 30 maybe? But the release of Shadow of the Tomb Raider is drawing ever closer. And I know some of my friends are happy now because on, I think it's September the 4th, the new Spider-Man game will be released. And I think I mentioned it before, I've played a few of the Spider-Man games. And I'm not gonna buy this one, but I'm probably gonna borrow it off one of them if they give it a good review, because I'm a little bit curious about it. I haven't played a Spider-Man game in years. The last one I played was Spider-Man 3, I think, that I bought on impulse once. When I went to a store called, in Swedish it's The Swedish word in English for it is the electric giant, which isn't a totally correct translation, but people get what I mean. Well, I bought it there on impulse, and didn't leave a super big mark on me. But now we have picked up our little missile guidance thingamabob, and we can leave D6 and head for the last mission. So I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.